Alex Frangadakis, thanks for being here with us. You are a second generation lab owner, 55 years in the making. Pretty freaking awesome. So there is a rich family history here with Californiadentalarts. Excited to peel back the curtain and learn from you. Pain is a good teacher. So I would love to just hear a story of pain, right? Something that you learn from the hard way. A lot of times we have to learn the hard way. And just what was it? What did you learn from that experience or that season of business and in life? And how is it making you wiser today?
Yeah, Rob, thanks for having me. So obviously, like you mentioned, we're multi-generational family business. My dad started the business 55 years ago, and I grew up working in the laboratory. So I've learned a lot over the years, but something I just wanted to mention really quickly before we get started. One of my first lessons when it came to pain was actually with one of Harvest's products. So I told Sasha this story when I talked to him last time. One of my earliest memories of Harvest was literally when I was a kid working in the model and die room. And what I would do is, you guys have this surfactant, this like pink surfactant that I was telling Sasha, and he
Yes.
still says it's like one of your best products. And I would spray the surfactant and then pour up all the solid models for the laboratory. And so when I was a kid, the plaster sets pretty quickly, so I could maybe get like 12 to 15 models. And so I was spraying all this surfactant, pouring the bottles, and I learned quickly, like, if I started to alter the water to powder ratio and put more water into the powder, then I could pour like 20 to 25 models. So I think I was probably like 13, 14 at the time, and I was like the smartest guy in the world. And the next
Oh,
thing that
yeah.
I know, my dad's coming into the model and die room screaming, like just so angry at me because all the models are breaking. All the solid models, as they're trying to trim them on the floor, are just crumbling. So I think, like, when you ask about what pain points I've experienced in the laboratory, I've experienced the pain of not following the directions. If I could tell dental technicians anything, start with following the directions that the engineers in Germany tell you to follow. That's number one. And then we can get into all the different sort of pain points that are out there
The I, the
from
IFUs matter.
everything. That's what he said. He goes, there is a German PhD who put this together. Just follow the directions. It's like, stop messing with stuff. So I could tell you a ton of stories about making mistakes, in the laboratory. Obviously, there's been a lot of, I don't know if I would call it pain, but there's been a lot of change in the industry, especially in the last 10 years. And I think that as a business, as an individual, as a business leader, as a laboratory owner, um, we've made some really good decisions, but we've also made a lot of decisions that we've quite honestly learned from, and have put us in a really good spot today. But like, each one of those little lessons is a nugget, and I think I'm not different than uh, the majority of lab owners, right? The path is never straight. You're just always trying to head in the right direction. And when I look back on it, uh, from my sort of story wasn't necessarily, I obviously, like I said, I grew up in the business, and I knew it was always an option to come back. Um, and what kind of happened for us was, back in 2011, I was finishing up business school. I got a master's from Vanderbilt. And at the time, there was this interesting transition that you were intimately involved with, which was, we were all going from analog to digital. And
Yeah.
my dad has always had the philosophy that you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotten. And he wanted to take the business to the next level. He wanted to make it multi-generational. And then he goes, hey, listen, what would you do if you were in my position? And I was doing a lot of entrepreneurial type of work at the time at Vanderbilt. And I actually thought I'd end up with a startup. And I said, look, you've really got two options here. You've got a 45-year-old business. You can either get rid of sort of the accounts that are difficult to deal with, focus on the accounts that you love to work with, increase your prices, turn it into a total lifestyle business, ride it out for the next 10 to 15 years. Or you can double down on this technology that's coming. You can make the investment in, CAD design software, the 3Shape software that was really big here at the time, the desktop scanners, the CNC mills, the 3D printing really wasn't a thing, but I was like, we make at that time, but I was like, we make these investments and then you set the business up for, the next 20 years. And that's when he said that, that core value of ours now, which is you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotten. And he said, well, why don't you come back and help lead this transition? And I think one of the first lessons,
It was a setup. It was a
it was a
setup.
setup. It was a setup. It was genius. It was genius. But you know what? For me, like personally, my family was all here in the Bay Area. Uh, I grew up watching how hard my dad worked in the business, the
Mm.
dedication, the early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifice, and so like the business has always been a part of pride for our family, and especially my uncles, my cousins are all dentists. And so dentistry really was just not like an our family business, but it was an extended family business. So it was neat to have the opportunity to come back and to contribute and to continue on the legacy that he had built. So with all that being said, I come back and I think something that I learned very early on was I bought a lot of equipment to start manufacturing solid zirconia crowns. Glidewell had just come out with the Bruxer crown. It didn't look great at the time. It looks much better now, but none of the solid zirconia crowns looked good at the time. And we had picked a business partner and spent a lot of money and made a big investment uh, in a lot of equipment that wasn't really set up to run. And so
Mm.
I think when you talk about making mistakes and learning, I think the first lesson that and something that I would always encourage people to do, especially as you're getting started with new technology, is to pick your vendors and your suppliers and your partners, especially your business partners, very, very wisely. And,
Alex,
with
this
that
is
being,
a,
yeah,
a really good point, right? There's equipment, software equipment you're going to make a big investment in, but then there's the company answering the phone to take care of you. And I
yeah,
think they
100%.
both really matter. How does that play into that decision?
So for us, there's a few things that we know. Um, Technology is not perfect and equipment breaks, right? And so we are very good at what we're good at, which is having a dental laboratory. We've gotten much better at the things that we're not good at, which is technology and operating equipment and machinery. But no matter what happens, like I said, this no matter how good the equipment is, even like it doesn't matter how good you do of a job of analyzing and how many people you talk to, it's going to break. So you want to make sure when you're making a capex, let's say your budget's $200,000-$300,000 a year, and you're putting that money out every year, you want to make sure that in 3, 4, 5 years, that when that stuff starts to experience problems, the company that sold it to you is going to be able to service it. And it's not just are they going to be able to service it and are they going to pick up the phone, but how long is it going to take them to service it? How are they going to service it? Will they come out to your facility and take care of it? Because like I said, everything's going to break. And so one of the things that saves laboratories a lot of money is making smart decisions up front,
Mm.
finding partners that are going to be around for the long run. I think what's really interesting, and I feel like the entire dental laboratory industry sort of felt this. I don't know if you remember CAP with
Mm.
Rob and those
Yep.
guys that were out there.
Yeah. Awesome business.
They awesome business, super technical, fantastic support. I think those guys really sort of created the blueprint for how it should be
Mm.
done. Now, of course, the business sold and it's no longer around, but those guys were awesome. And what
Yeah.
we found is there are definitely other suppliers and other manufacturers that are out there that are doing a good job. It's just, uh, like I said, when I got started, I maybe didn't do the best job of due diligence. And so
Is there without mentioning brand names, is there a piece of equipment you bought that was just like, oh man, that was a dog. Shouldn't have done that.
well, yeah, that. But I think more importantly, I told the partners that we had selected, that I need a turnkey solution, and it showed up, and there was no camming software. And so we've had the 3Shape design station, and we had the mill, And I said, how do I hit print, right? Like, how do I get the thing from here into an actual physical 3D crown? And they go, oh, you got to upload it into your camming software. I go, what's the camming software? And they go, oh, it's the software that writes the G code that then goes into the, and I go, did you sell it to me? They go, no. I go, well, how much, dude, you sold me the equipment. So of course, then they're happy to sell it to me. So they send it to me and they say, by the way, you need a standalone computer. So I go and I buy an expensive computer. I upload the software, I put it on there, we load it, we cam it, it writes the strategies. I can see the crown on the puck. I'm so excited. Then I had the rolling mills at the time, the originals. I think they were the 50s. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, now how do I get it from the camming software into the mill? Like, where's the print button? They said, oh, you got to go send it to the controller. And I go, well, what's the controller? They go, oh, it's this little computer that you have to go and buy and put it on top of the mill, and it runs the code and tells the machine what to do. And so, like, all that to just say that, we've,
It was
as an
not a
industry,
turnkey solution.
it was not a turnkey solution. I had to go, I bought the computer. All that to say, like, just we've come a long way as an industry, and now these things are sort of common practices. But what we're seeing is technologies just exponentially taking off, especially with AI. And as we're looking at all of these new ways to automate our laboratories, I would just encourage people to be really selective and really thoughtful with who they want to work with, you know.
Awesome. Yeah,
Uh,
totally
so
agree. Your level of due diligence today is much wiser than it was maybe a few years ago.
yeah, yeah, but like there's so much that I could share in terms of like just the mistakes and the pain and the things that we've experienced. When we got started, I thought a really great growth strategy, and it was at the time, was to purchase dental laboratories. And
Mm,
so I put together a pretty aggressive local marketing campaign for other laboratory owners that my dad had known. Many of these people my dad had known for many, many years, to start buying their businesses. Uh, and what I had come to learn was a lot of these laboratories were really didn't have a lot of market value because they were uh, truly lifestyle businesses. Like when the person wasn't there anymore, the business would cease to exist, right? Maybe they had two or three staff members. What they were really looking for was a soft landing, a way to sort of hang
yeah.
it up, which was great because they had great books of business. And one of the things that I quickly discovered, because I thought, hey, we're California Dental Arts. Um, these guys are going to be excited to work with us. So I had gone ahead and I would rebrand everybody and just send out a letter and say, hey, this laboratory is now a part of our laboratory. And great news, you're going to get all of our products or services. I'll call you to set up a meeting. Well, a lot of those people didn't work with us on purpose. And so when they found out
Mm,
that we had purchased them and I had changed the branding, uh, let's just say it created an opportunity for them to really evaluate their laboratory relationship, and you would actually end up losing about 40% of the business.
oh,
uh,
oh, how many
which
labs did you buy?
we bought, I think, over the course of 4 years, we bought 5 laboratories
Wow.
and wrapped them
And
up.
so by the time you got to the fifth one, were you getting better at your acquisition
Oh yeah,
strategy?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you learn really quickly how to value these things quickly. uh, I would say one of the best things that I did was I put together. I had a great legal advisor, which I would encourage everybody to do if they're interested in purchasing any business whatsoever. One of the best things that they do is, as a larger laboratory, and I think we probably have about 100 technicians now. If you're a small business and maybe you have a employee dispute, or there is a that they may or may not even know about, or there's a
Mm,
vendor that hasn't been paid, there's a lot of liability. And oftentimes, the vendor or the employee may not pursue any sort of legal action against the person just because they know there's not a lot there. However, when they find out that a larger company purchases them, uh, that changes pretty quickly. And so one of the best things that we did, we were advised to put everything together as a bulk sale agreement, bulk sale purchase agreement. which basically means you are buying nothing but the assets and none of the liabilities. And
Yeah.
that actually saved us in two situations where, whether it was vendors or employees came back, but the original owner had kept the liabilities of the business.
Yeah.
And so our risk exposure was minimal, which was fantastic.
You still buying any labs today, or just
Great
organic growth?
question. I think, like I said, right, the path is it's not straight. Um, we learned a lot through acquisition, but I think one of the big things that came out of that is anytime you buy a business, there's different cultures, and it's
Mm,
very hard to get cultural alignment between the acquiring company and the acquired company. So even if you're getting great employees, sometimes it doesn't work out as well as you think it's going to work out. Um, and it takes a tremendous amount of effort from like the entire leadership team to integrate these new businesses. So what we sort of came to learn was, and this just is something that takes time. What are our core strengths as a company?
mm,
Like, what's our value proposition? Why do people work with us? Because dentists have a choice in who they choose to work with, right? And so I think one of the best things that happened was we really had an opportunity to sort of evaluate, like, what are we doing for our best customers, and like the people who aren't our best customers, why are they not our best customers? And what we sort of learned was uh, our best customers, a lot of them were family members or people who were pretty much family members, right? And we were treating them like family, with access, with service, with
mm.
doing everything that you need to do in order to make somebody feel special about the relationship. And we weren't doing that for everybody. And we kind of took a step back and really focused, especially since 2020, on how do we expand, how do we kind of try and scale up this relationship from this core group of clients that we have
Yep.
into the sort of the broader ecosystem. And it's been really interesting, uh, the different sort of things we've tried, where we've been successful, where we haven't been successful.
Scaling the relational connection, right? That's hard to do.
Yeah.
Um, in a prior company, we asked all of our team members to give out their cell phone number to our VIP customers. Some were like, "Oh yeah, sure." Others are like, "No, I'm not giving my personal cell." So we bought company cell phones, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of small businesses, you don't have company cell phones. We're like, hey, we want our VIP customers to be able to call you and text you. No, it doesn't mean you're on call 24/7, but it does mean if it's 7 p.m. and they text you, you at least have the opportunity to see it and be like, oh, hey, thanks for the message. If it's a quick answer, give it to them. Be like, I'll
Yeah.
dive in first thing tomorrow morning. I'll call you tomorrow at 8 a.m. And
Yep.
that oftentimes that's good enough, but you scaling relational connection, because there's only one Alex, but how do
Yeah.
we get 10 Alexes in the
Yeah.
business? What have you guys
Yeah.
done on that?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think where it started was we realized when we were in our dental offices providing chairside support and services is when we really were able to shine. And so we had actually started a program at that time. We were interested in, so to take a step back, from 2011, when I had finished business school, to 2020, we had made a tremendous amount of investment in this sort of digital workflow, right? Now we're set up, now we're humming. We've got the 3Shape design centers, like everybody. We've got our camming systems all finally figured out. We've got the mills, we've got the 3D printers. 60% of our work, 70% of our work on any given day is still coming analog. And I'm going,
Mm,
I know when I receive a digital case, my turnaround time's less, my remake factor's less, my clients are happier. Why are these clients of ours not adopting this technology? And my best
I know.
customers they had intraoral scanners. They were scanning. And so at the time, Will Floor over at Align Technologies, along with Mark Smolinski, had come into the office, and they had this idea where they were selling the CPO Flex units from Align, and they said, "Hey, uh, would you be interested in offering some, like, if you could send me into your dental practices, it's an entry level restorative scanner. Can you work a rebate program with your customers? And the rebate doesn't have to be huge because the price point's low, and it'll provide them the incentive to just get
Yeah.
into this technology." And I said, "Hey, you know what? That's a fantastic idea, but how about this? How about you sell me 10 and I'll go find 10 customers to go stick these things in and really improve the relationship." And so that's what we did. They were like blown away because their order just went from like a single order where I'm sending them over to a practice, and they're going to have, to
Yeah.
now I'm an aggregator of business for them. So they agreed to like at least explore this with us. And so I hand selected 5 clients, and I said, we took them out to the Brazilian steakhouse down the street. It was a great dinner, right? Align was very generous. They paid for it because I think they were interested, and they were just excited to be in front of 5 potential customers. So we took them out to dinner, and we said, like, basically, I don't know if this is a good idea or it's a bad idea, but when you have a digital scanner in your practice, I know you're going to be a happier dentist. I know you're going to have
Yeah.
less remakes. You're going to get your work back faster. And I'm like, I just don't understand. And here's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I don't understand why you haven't bought them, but I'm guessing it's because you've been burned in the past, or you don't want to have a failure in your office. And they kind of agreed to that. And I said, well, here's the deal. What if I just take full accountability? What if I buy it? So I take the financial risk. What if I install it in your practice? And what if I take full responsibility for the training of your staff? Would you guys commit to sending me, a certain amount of work each month? And they said, dude, if you do all of that, yeah, this is a no-brainer. And in the beginning too, I gave them an out. I said, if we get to the end of like 2 months and you say, hey, this just isn't for me, I'll just take it back. I'll just rip up the
Dude,
agreement.
that there is a word of wisdom, right? Like, start in the beginning of the relationship, mention the exit plan.
Yeah.
So they at least know that that's on the table as an option. Because if you never mention the exit plan or the divorce clause, then now if you have to go knock on the door and be like, hey, I'm here to get my scanner. What do you mean you're a scanner? Like, yeah, I bought the thing.
No, we told them
Very wise.
we were very upfront about it. We're like, it's our scanner. We're paying for it. We're going to lend it to you,
Yeah.
to use. And then I just said, back to my earlier story, it's all about your business partners. And so I'm like, I'm in the position where I I just want the work, and I want to be able to provide the support and the service. And if they at the end of the day say, you know what, for us it's really about PBS, then that's fine. Just keep sending us PBS
Yeah.
work. We just want to support you. But I think this is a better path forward. And so we end up having this dinner, and I go, I don't know if this is a good idea or this is a bad idea, but this is the idea. And all 5 people said, yeah, that's awesome. Sign us up. So then I have to go out and buy the equipment and figure it out. And we didn't have a clue. This is like one of those situations in business where you just say yes and we can do it, and you figure it out on the back
Yep.
end. I was really lucky at the time. So in the beginning, I was doing all of the work myself, trying to figure out how to make this thing go.
The
And
training
it
and the
would,
workflow and all that stuff.
how do you buy it? You've got to finance it, right? How do you finance it? When it shows up, how do you set up the equipment? You got to download software. Like, there's a lot of moving parts with the technology. Uh, I'd never really held a scanner in my life. My uncle had one. I maybe had picked it up once or twice, but I'd never really scanned with it. So there was a lot that went into it. Align was really amazing at training us. The support was fantastic. They made it possible. And I got really lucky. And I think that's another big lesson in business, is sometimes you just have to get lucky. And I ended up getting a couple people on the team that sort of had the same passion for this sort of customer experience that I had, and they really helped me scale it out to the customers and roll the program out. The thing that was really interesting, and I think a lot of dental laboratories are probably experiencing this, is even though we are a old business, there's this like sort of startup vibe right now with all the new technology that's coming into it. And
Yep.
that was another big thing internally. The employees were kind of looking at me like, dude, this guy's crazy. Why is he spending all this money buying this equipment and we're just giving it away? But the idea was it was a little bit at a higher level. It was if we can figure out how to do a better job of delivering chairside services and cares that our core customers and like that's why they work with us and we can build stronger relationships over time, we're going to have a better business. And so far it's been amazing. Like from where that program started with this very simple sort of like I don't know what we're doing and I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea, to what the program's developed into today.
Well, Alex, I think you made a good bet. I'm sure it paid off. I'm sure you learned a lot along the way. What percent of your lab is digital now, incoming case flow?
Yeah, so we flipped it. So we're probably about 75 to 80% digital on any given day. Um,
Love that.
we ended up we ended up placing a ton of scanners, um, and we've come up with some really just it's amazing. So when you have a customer who just says, "Yeah, hey Alex, come on back here. I got to show you something," like that is. You walk into the
Yeah,
office, the gatekeeper knows who you are, the doctor loves you, they invite you back, they're having birthday, they serve you somebody's birthday, they give you, that's like the kind of relationship that I strive to have. The thing I think that's
100%.
really interesting about our business here is that most laboratories that are larger have a national footprint, and we're really still just a regional local dental laboratory. 99% of our customers are in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Wow. That's pretty cool, though. I mean, you're driving distance to most of your customers.
Yeah, 100%.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. So,
Um,
what would you say is going really, really well? Like a story of joy, something that's like, man, this is going awesome. We're going to preserve this and grow it. Like, what are you most proud of in your
yeah.
lab that you just want to keep growing?
So, I mean, there's so much to pull from, but I think one of the the coolest things that happened here from like the perspective of both the family and the business. Uh, 2 years ago, uh, my sister had been working she was over at Apple working on the corporate retail side of the business, and she was a director over at Stitch Fix, running a big part of their operation. And she had taken some time and was doing some private consulting, and I brought her back into the business to help us with our operations and with our systems. And
Dude.
we started, and it was a huge win. I was like, "How much time do you have, Andrea?" And she goes, "I got a day a week." I go, "I'll take it." So I took a day, and then I slowly got 2 days, 3 days,
you
full-time
you pulled
employees.
you copied your dad. You're like, "Hey
Yeah.
Andrew, what do you think about this?" And then she gave you all the ideas and you're like, "Sweet, can you do that for us?"
Yeah. It's amazing. Same parents. We're so different. She is an amazing operator. I'm more of, I'm very great at on the strategy side and the growth side, but she can beat the drum. So, and she's consistent. And I think one of the cool things that has happened, what has been a huge win for us is, uh, and I think all laboratories should be looking at how they can better incorporate technology into their workflow, into
Hmm,
not just, I mean, there's obviously a lot out there with AI design, but I think it's even bigger than that. Like, how can you leverage technology to automate your workflow? And we've started a lot. We've have an initiative going on in the laboratory right now because it's so important for us. Because whether to be able to do this stuff, to be able to understand how to do it well, what needs to be done at each stage, uh, and what does the production timeline look like. One of the things that all laboratories are really starting to compete on is turnaround time, and
yep, yep.
it's a huge deal. And so I think I'm really happy with like our tech stack internally. uh, and how that sort of evolved over the last couple of years. The other thing that I think uh, has just been amazing is, like I said, our what I call our CDA Connect program, which is the Chairside sort of support and service that we
Mm,
provide, especially for laboratories that have more of a regional focus. I mean, it takes it back to sort of the old school relationship, which is something I think as an industry that we've really gotten away from. Like as you look out there now at the marketing,
yeah,
so much of it's cost driven.
yeah,
Uh, and there's a lot of obvious reasons behind that. We've got a lot of private equity coming into the
yeah.
space. There's a lot of downward pressure on pricing from insurance companies, and there's obviously a fairly large market for lower priced products. Um, I don't think as business owners, I don't think it's our job to say, "Hey, this is good or this is bad." I think it's our job to say this is what's happening or what's not happening, and if we acknowledge it to be happening, then our decision is: do we participate or do we not participate? And if we participate, what does that look like, right? And I think a lot of laboratories have made the decision to participate in that market, and I don't fault them for it. I understand why they're doing it, but I also think that there's a big part of the market that really sort of craves the local service, the
Mm,
quality, the craftsmanship, which I know when I talk to Sasha in terms of like our company's core values and Harvest's core values, it's how we find so much alignment.
yeah.
It's really getting down into that just real sort of base layer of why are we even here? Like, what's our purpose?
You know, Sasha has a lot of great one-liners, but one of his one-liners that I love, and I think you'll love it too, is that if your customer left you today, what would they miss about you tomorrow? And that's really important. I think what they would miss about California Dental Arts is if they left you today for a national lab for whatever reason, they would not have someone from the lab showing up in their clinic if they needed help that warranted an in-person visit,
Yeah.
right? And the fact that you have a high customer concentration within driving distance allows you to build a moat around your strategy where you're like, hey, we're going to have close relational in-person connection when necessary that our doctors can extract value from. Dude, that's something that not a lot of labs can compete with, right? As
Yeah.
soon as they box it up into a UPS box and send it across the country, they've broken that connection and that ability. And I think that's something that would be missed about your lab.
Dude, 100%. I have a doctor who called me yesterday, and he's one of our best accounts. And he goes, I'm unhappy with the way you build this case. And I'm not
Good
telling
to
you
hear from you,
that.
Doc.
Yeah, yeah. Because I'm not telling you that because I'm mad about it. I'm telling you that because it annoys me. And I think it's important that you get the feedback that this is
Mm,
something that people aren't going to like. He goes, because when I bill my customers, I can't come back to them afterwards and say, hey, you know what? It took a little bit more time. So it's an extra $85. He's like, the price that I quote is the price that I charge. And he's like, when I see these little, so we had, it was a difficult case with a very dark custom shade and or there was a dark stump and we needed to do a really difficult custom shade on the case. And so the technician, sometimes if they spend an hour or more time, we give them the option to add an additional line item.
mm.
And I looked at it and I looked at how much we had billed over the course of the year, and I go, this is the most. I am so glad we're a 55-year-old business. I don't know how all of the product codes got in here, but
Yeah,
I,
there's a few,
I
I bet.
I go, but I understand your point, and I don't know why we're doing it. And I appreciate you calling me to give me that feedback. And he was so happy that I said feedback because he's like, yes, I'm not upset. This is just feedback. I go, I'm so glad you gave me that feedback because I'm getting rid of it. I talked to Lonnie, I talked to the rest of the team. We don't agree with it either. I appreciate it. And I think when you can have that sort of level of relationship with your customers, it's invaluable, right? Like he called, he had specific feedback, we took action, we fixed it.
What's so cool about that phone call too is it sounds like he was calling to make you a better lab.
Yeah.
And obviously he wanted to benefit from it for sure, but he's like, "Listen, I care about you. I want you to, if other doctors are upset by this, maybe they're afraid to call you. You should be aware."
And that's what happens. 90% of your customers, when they leave you, will never tell you the reason. So
Yeah.
it's actually kind of like almost a blessing when that 10% do call. And even though the
Yeah.
conversations kind of aren't always pleasant, sometimes the feedback's not pleasant, it's always beneficial. It's invaluable, actually. It really is.
It is. Feedback is a gift, and it's you as a business owner, you have that mentality of, I need to hear this. Let me receive the pain because then I'm going to solve it. And then the hard part is getting everyone on your team to have that same mindset versus thinking I'm in trouble or I just have an angry customer. It's like, no,
Yeah.
neither of those are the problem. The problem is, how do we solve this problem from persisting, you know?
Yeah. I bet you've never had an angry customer in your entire life, right?
Oh my gosh. So
I can't.
many. So many.
Well, you're dealing with laboratory owners
Yeah.
and technicians, and we're not always the easiest group of people to deal with.
Yeah. Dentistry is a strange world. It's
Yeah,
like, art and science and technology all coming together, and personalities, and you've got the CAD guys and the engineers and then
yep,
the artistic people, and they all got to collaborate and
yeah,
produce awesome work consistently.
yeah. It's awesome though, because when you think about it, it's like how many professions are out there, how many industries exist, and this is one of the things that I loved as a kid. Like I think obviously growing up, I watched my uncle and the impact that he was able to have with his patients and whatnot, right? And the commitment and the dedication and the focus, and he was always learning more and investing in his craft, and he built this amazing group practice called Cupertino Dental Group. And my dad making the sacrifice to do these things, and I saw the pride that they took in it. And I think that's one of the coolest things about this industry is that every dental laboratory owner takes so much pride in what they do. And
100%.
then after that, it's we get to build stuff, which is cool. If we get to build stuff, and not only we get to build stuff, we get to use really cool technology to do it. I mean, we were like one of the first adopters of carbon 3D printing when Brian
Yes.
Gainey was over there selling them to every laboratory in the United States. And the DeSimone
Yeah.
family had no idea that this industry even existed because
I
like
know.
we're 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 incredibly forward thinking. We're always looking for solutions. We're not super risk adverse. Like we will place our bets where we think there's an opportunity to
Yeah.
earn a return. And so I think as a result, it's a really fun business. Plus, I have to say the clients are amazing, and the other folks, the other lab industry folks are just the best. I love working with you guys.
It is a great industry. It's like, blue collar, white collar, this blend of every type of persona. I love the lab industry. Most people are super approachable at any trade show. You can just walk up and talk to pretty much anybody. And I love this industry too.
Jim Glidewell, the biggest lab owner in the world,
Yes,
will invite you down to his house
I
and
know.
have a
We were there
have a
together,
conver-
I think, a few
We were
months
there
ago.
together.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a great industry from top to bottom.
It is for sure. I have one last question. You were talking on just technology adoption and the innovation. As you look out now, 10 years into the future, right? Like, what are you thinking about, dreaming about for, staying green, right? This
Yeah.
idea of keeping CDA and this, you're growing in green. Like, what do you see over the next 10 years of where you want to take the business?
Yeah, man, Rob, it's so hard to say, right? Because technology is moving at such a quick pace, and the adoption of AI. I mean, I think it's really easy to say within the next like 12, 18, 24 months. I think the majority of the design is going to all be automated through some sort of AI platform. And there's probably two or three really good options that are out there. The companies are moving quickly. I think that's going to be the initial sort of optimization that we experience. I think as I look past that timeline, uh, we're going to continue to see like the material science on the 3D print side get better. I think you'll start to
Yeah.
see I think you'll start to see more adoption of chairside 3D printing. Um,
Yeah.
I think there's always going to be a spot for the laboratory, but I think everywhere from, at least in the near future, I think everything from the both the clinical side, the scan technology side, the design side, and the actual production processing side, it's all going to be about AI and workflow optimization. And how I think the companies that are going to really provide the best benefit for us are going to be the companies that have figured out how to connect the pieces. Because, like I said, we're amazing business owners and we're willing to take risks, but we're not technologists from the standpoint of we're not computer programmers, we're not data scientists. Whoever can come into our industry and help us connect all the pieces, I think is going to provide a tremendous service. And I think their companies are going to do very well. When I look past that and I look 10 years, 20 years down the road, I could see it going in a couple different directions. I think laboratories may begin to have to become more specialized. I think a lot more
Mm.
of the work is going to go chairside with 3D printing because the materials are going to get better. Uh,
Yep.
the,
Yep.
whether it's going into a CNC mill uh, or it's going into a 3D printer, I think it's just inevitable that that's what's going to happen. So I think there will always be a place for uh, laboratories when it comes to larger cases, smile design,
Yep.
AOX, implant.
More complexity. I think
Yeah,
doctors will cherry pick the simple things to do with the printer. It's simple and
yep,
easy,
yeah,
and they'll still have a lab that does the larger cases, the more complex cases, or the printers down. Or I think the smart
yeah,
labs are going to sell printers, support printers, keep
yeah,
that umbilical cord alive, and just support what's going to naturally happen anyway.
yep.
Instead of trying to prevent all your doctors from getting a printer, the ones that do, why not be a support
Well,
agent?
well, so exactly. So that's actually what we've started to do as a company. So we obviously now we have a partnership, a distributor partnership with Align. So we sell uh, we're distributors of the Itera Lumina, but we also represent and sell 3D printers, CAD design software through
Amazing.
ExoCAD. And it's been really interesting. I Because like you said, my philosophy is I don't want to tell the dentist how to practice. I just want to be able to support them wherever they're at. So if they say, "Hey, I'm going
Mm.
to mill everything in house," I would love to be involved in that in whatever capacity I can be involved in it. If they say I want to send you these things, then that's great. I'd love to do that. I'm just here to be helpful, and I guess that's maybe what we're really trying to turn into a product is like helpfulness. Like helpfulness is our product, right? If I was going to say something, like try and package it up. But at the same time, what I have learned as I have done a number of these demos with design software and 3D printing and chairside milling, the vast majority of dentists come in and they're excited and we show them the technology and they learn it and then they go, peace, thank you, I'm out. Like I want nothing. I appreciate the demo. Thanks for showing me how this all works. It's too complicated. I'm just going to go like hang out and take care of my patients. And you know what? Maybe $100 is maybe I'll just pay for the night
Exactly.
guard.
Totally. Totally.
I'll just
I mean,
pay
that's
for the
really
night guard. We'll
wise.
call it a day. Yeah. Right. But I
Super
think
cool.
at some
Yeah.
point it's going to get easier. It's all inevitably going to get easier. The material is going to get better. The post processing is going to get simpler. Their staff's going to be able to learn it. And I think as a business in this industry, as a laboratory business, we have to be figuring out if we want to be around in 10 to 20 years, as this technology becomes more prevalent, what does that mean for us and our
Mm.
relationships with our doctors?
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I think that high touch relationship is going to be around forever in this industry. Yes, there's going to be big private equity, corporate owned options, but
Yes.
I think most doctors want someone that cares about them. There's a name, a phone number I can call, and someone that can solve a problem when I need it. I think that's going to
Yeah,
be around a very long time. So
absolutely. I agree.
wonderful. Let's end on that note, Alex. Thank you
All
so
right,
much for your
Rob.
time. I've learned a
Hey,
ton. This was so much fun.
yeah, thanks for having me anytime. I appreciate it.